Today, I'm being joined by Mr. Sanjay Lazar, who lost his father, Sampath Lazar, his stepmother, Sylvia Lazar, and his younger sister, Sandita Lazar, on flight AI 182. His father was an in-flight supervisor that night. Sylvia Lazar, an award-winning flight attendant, had resigned from Air India, and she and Sandita were with his father for a holiday. Sylvia Lazar was pregnant at the time of her death with another baby. Sanjay ji, thank you so much, sir, for taking our time to speak to NewsX. You're also the former General Secretary of Air India Cabin Crew Association. You didn't lose one, but 4 family members on that fateful day of 23rd June 1985. If you could just tell us a little bit more about your family members to begin with.
There were 3 family members of mine on board the Kanishka: my father, my stepmother, and my sister, baby sister. My father was the in-flight supervisor of the flight, and my mom and sister were on a holiday.
Okay. And Sanjay ji, if you can maybe shed some more light on the purpose. You've said that, of course, your father was the flight attendant, was part of the cabin crew, and of course, your mother, who recently resigned, she was with your younger sister on the flight for a vacation, if that's correct.
Like I said, my dad was the in-flight supervisor, so he worked with Air India. He was flying on a flight duty, and there were a number of their friends who were traveling, going with them with their families. And my family also was going, my parents were, my sister and my stepmom were going with them. I was actually also supposed to join them, but I didn't. Last minute had to cancel.
Wow. So Sanjay ji here was supposed to join his family, he's saying, on that flight, but last minute there were some changes, and because of that he is here, of course, to tell us the tale of his family and what happened. Sanjay ji, I'm sure you were very young at that time, but still, do you remember some of the last words that were perhaps exchanged between your family members and those who had probably gone to see them off? What were really the last memories, sir, that you remember?
Well, the last memories of my family are pretty sad, in the sense, I don't know if you're aware, they left on a Sunday, and they left the day they were leaving. A day before that, I got my 12th standard results and I failed. And they didn't want to go. They wanted to stay behind because they were worried, I'd do something or, just go off the rails. And they were really wanted to reschedule, but they couldn't, since my father was on flight duty. And, he just told me, remember, we love you, we'll be back soon. And yeah, they were distressed, and I was too. And I wish at that time I told them, stay behind, don't go, and let's, see what we can. But yeah, that's what happened.
Well, I mean, Sanjay ji, I can't even imagine what, the whole experience would have been like for you. And once again, we thank you for coming on board to really share with our viewers, with people watching, what your family, what you've been through. We'd also like to understand, Sanjay ji, how did you actually learn about the demise of your family members? Who informed your family, your extended family, and what really was the information that was shared at the time?
I was orphaned. The entire family died. So I was the only one at home. Family, friends, my sister's godparents came over, they called me and took me over and told me the plane was missing. So that's how I packed my bags and left for Ireland, Cork, for London first and then Ireland. And that's when I got to know that, the whole plane had been bombed and everyone was likely dead.
Sanjay, I'm finding it very difficult to actually, continue the conversation with you. I mean, you're sitting there with such a brave face, actually going over the ordeal again, and my apologies for making you go through this. But like I said, it's important for us to understand and for the world to know. Did the Canadian government, Sanjay ji, ever reach out to your family or share any sort of message of condolence?
Once we were there, it was the Irish who looked after us in Cork. When we came back, well, I had messages of condolence from all three heads of state, from the Prime Minister of India, the President of India, Prime Minister of Canada, as well as the President of Ireland. So condolences messages have reached out, have come, more than once. And that's not the point. The point is they neglected to get to the bottom of this dastardly crime.
Absolutely.
That is the crime. I mean, getting letters of condolence is not enough. You want somebody to look into the matter.
You're absolutely right about that. So, Sanjay ji, when you learned over time, of course, when the reports and all came out that Khalistani terrorists were responsible for the bombing of the plane, what was at that point your demand from, of course, the government that was involved?
First of all, there was little or no investigation for the first few years. Okay, you must know that fact. Second thing is, once the police investigation and the RCMP started looking into it, we realized that it was a complete watch-up and cover-up of what had happened. They knew well in advance of what was happening. They were tracking the terrorists for 5 months in advance. From December of '84, they were monitoring Riyadh and Parmar, so they knew exactly what was going to happen, or that something was going to happen. And even after all that, in the criminal trial, which we went for, of course, the evidence, they just goofed up and they were found not guilty. So, fact of it is, we've not got justice in all these years.
Sanjay ji, why do you think then that terrorists who were responsible for the bombing were actually let go scot-free?
There's no doubt that the terrorists responsible for this were let go scot-free. There is no doubt that it was covered up by, the government of the day. There is no doubt that intelligence agencies, completely mishandled the situation then and, let every single family of us down. And, today it's the same people who created a ruckus then who are creating a ruckus now. Whether it's, trying to foment problems in India or in Canada. That's what it is. That is the fact of life.
Sanjay ji, before we let you go, sir, it's been, of course, many, many years, many decades now. Do you think there's anything that can possibly be done to help you get the justice, your family members who lost their lives get the justice that you've been denied? Do you think that there's something that can still be done?
It's 38 years since the bombing of AI-182 Kanishka, and it's been a long wait for justice for us.
Yes.
In the meantime, there are people in Canada who are trying to rewrite history and trying to make it seem like it never happened, turning the terrorists into heroes. One of the reasons I'm writing my book or my memoirs is this, because the world today must know exactly what happened then. And search for justice has been long and open-ended. Canada has files, secret files, which they've never opened out, intelligence files. So does the US. And let everybody open up and let us know what happened. Why, you should be aware that even the Secret Service and FBI visited Riyadh and Parmar before the bombing. You should also know that CSIS had hours and hours and thousands of hours of surveillance tapes, all erased. So let us know what the transcripts were. Let's know why they ignored the warnings. That's what we want to know. You can't keep having there have been 3 criminal trials. There have been 2 commissions, 1 commission in India. We can keep having commissions and inquiries. If you're going to cover up and hide evidence, the truth will never come out. So that's my hope, is that, the record is set straight once and for all.
Absolutely, Sanjay ji. That's a fair demand, that the record at least must be set straight. You're right that inquiry commissions and reports will obviously never bring back your family. It will never bring back your father, your stepmother and your younger sister. But maybe the record can be set straight, and maybe there's something that we can learn from history so that it doesn't repeat itself. Mr. Lazar, thank you so much, sir, once again for joining us on NewsX. We really appreciate you sharing more about your family who lost their lives on flight AI 182 on the 23rd of June 1985.
For more such videos, subscribe to the NewsX YouTube channel, hit the bell icon.